Okay, in this Gunnar Mat Creator demonstration video, I'm going to show you how to create and cut a spliced mat. A spliced mat is commonly used when you are trying to mat an oversized image and you need to create a mat board or a large oversized mat out of two pieces of mat board spliced together, namely where you cannot get oversized mat board in the right color, so you need to create a spliced mat out of two standard sheets of mat board. And to show you how to create a spliced mat, first of all we're going to click on our standard templates here, scroll down, and at the bottom here you'll see a left and a right horseshoe shaped template. These are our separate left and right splice joins, so we do them separately. I'm going to click on the A260 left spliced template first. Brings up the parameters here. Now for the margin distances, I can make them a comfortable distance away from the clamp, so I'm going to make that 40 millimeters by 40 millimeters. And can you see with opening width, the green line projects across the page even beyond the page, and the reason is we're asking here for the complete opening width, not half of it. This is important for the accurate calculation of the overlap of the splice. So if you have a photograph, for example, and the dimensions of this photograph are 1200 millimeters wide by say 400 high, in this case type in the full width. So I will type in 1200 millimeters, tab 400 millimeters, tab, and now I can type in my preferred left, bottom and top borders, which in this case will be 60, tab 60, tab 60. And the mat board thickness is also important. If you are cutting out of say 8-ply mat board, you'll need to measure the thickness of the mat board and type this in, because the thickness of the mat board does affect the overlap and the overall width of the opening when you consider all the mathematics required. But in most cases 1.3 millimeters will be fine for your standard everyday 4-ply mat board. So once these parameters are all entered, you can click on Create or click Enter to lock that in. So there we have our left splice, and what we can do now is we can click into Arrange mode, and you can see the view of that cutting from the back of the mat board. Now it may be that sometimes you could cut two splices out of one single sheet of mat board rather than two, depending on the dimensions and the width, and I'm going to proceed to show you that example. If we go to the width and the height, a 40 by 32 sheet of mat board is 1016 by 813 millimeters. So there you can see how this particular splice shape fits out of a full sheet of mat board. Please disregard the overall outside cut here. We're going to ignore that when it comes time to cutting it. So what I can do is I can move this around in Arrange mode, and I might move this up here for now, and then I'm going to go back into Create mode to create the right hand side. So here I can scroll down and you can see the A261 is my right hand horseshoe splice. If I click on this, once again I can type in the similar parameters, so 40 by 40. The overall opening width is required here, so that's 1200 by 400, and then 60 for my right, bottom and top, and my mat thickness I'll leave at 1.3. Click Create, and now let's go to Arrange mode. We should now see the second mat. I will have to re-enter the overall size of a mat board again. And if I move that away here, you can see a possible way where I can configure these two left and right horseshoes to cut out of one standard sheet of mat rather than two. And this point here and this point here will join with this point here and this point here in a nice beveled, accurate overlapping splice to create your oversized mat board. And so then the next step is to go to cut mode, where in cut mode now you can see the projection of where the clamps are. We can still relocate to make sure everything is fitting safely in the layout. And then also important is to make sure that your Ignore OC button is highlighted to ignore this outside cut, so it will just cut the horseshoe shapes out of your single sheet of mat board. So now it's just a matter of clicking on cut, and there you will have your spliced mat, oversized mat cut out of one sheet of mat board. So looking at the quadrant splice, we're going to scroll down and you can see the A270 template. So once again, we need to give it the full opening width and the full opening height. Okay, not a quarter of it. So here, if the artwork size is 1400 by 1400, which is quite large, we can type in 1400 here, tab onto the next field, 1400. And my border width and height, now that is the actual margin of the mat, can be 100, tab 100. My distance X and Y is the distance away from the 0 point in the corner, so I can make that 50 by 50. And the mat thickness, once again, is important. So standard mat thickness in this case is 1.3. If it was 8 ply, maybe I'll make it 3.2. And then finally, you get a choice in the quadrant field to choose which corner you want it to cut. So we could make this a top right, or we could make it a top left. Basically, to save us from creating 4 separate templates for 4 separate quadrants, we put them all into one, and you can dictate and cut them separately, but create each one separately and cut them separately. So if I want to create the bottom left, I can go create, then you go to cut mode, cut that out, and then come back, recreate it again, and use the drop down menu to change which corner you want to do 4 different times. So that's how the Spliced Mat templates work.